Hey guys, Thomas the Genie here, aka Mustached. I'm here to review the movie Demon Eye. So, I'm always on the lookout for movies that are on a smaller scale, maybe perhaps a movie that not as many people are reviewing. I don't know, in this case. But I did catch this movie. And I'll recap it for you and tell you how it did. So, this movie starts off with this man doing some research on a computer. He gets a call from his daughter Sadie, and he starts to hear several noises throughout the house. In particular, one is a dog noise, so he's starting to freak out. And there are also baby noises as well. And he picks up a hand, and it's a chopped off hand. Uh, this brings him to go down to or go up. I forget which direction he was going to, but he ends up in a separate room where he has had a rope set up, and then he proceeds to hang himself. We then cut to the daughter, Sadie, who is now coming by with a nondiscrete time later. If there was a time skip, I didn't notice it. Anyways, she's picking up this book, and this other man, his name is Dan, enters in, and he's also sort of looking around and stuff. She gets told that her father had left her some opportunities to get to some work. And as she's sort of proceeding through the home, she's sort of noticing all these cameras up. And as she's sort of moving her way through the house, we get some flashbacks of when she was young. But those get cut off because we gotta apparently learn the ultimate reveal or whatever. So she goes into this camera room. Or this room with all the video and stuff like that. All the lights go out, and we proceed to hear more baby noises. It ends up just being a doll. So she hitches a ride later on, and then goes to this appointment that her father had set up. We learn that the Demon Eye, the name of the movie, is, at least in the background, associated with some sort of drug or something. So she meets up with one of her, I think it's, not her, rival, quote, I guess. Her name is Faye, and her and, Dan were about to, get the sex on, but then she interrupted. Cock-blocked indeed. So, he drives her along afterwards. The two of them, Dan and Sadie, end up going together to talk to some guy named Crazy Craig, who has this story about this demon lady who caught on fire. And she sees a image of this before on her camera before they arrive. She's even grabbed for a moment by a demon hand while the interview is happening. She's the only one who catches on to that, obviously. And she starts yelling at Craig after he goes off about her father and what happened to him. So she pulls out this book. She's sort of wandering about, she finds a pendant inside and takes it. So she starts asking questions about this whole story. And he goes over the past, giving us the exposition of the story. This lady was apparently taken for a witch. Her eye was taken out. And after their story, after he shares the story, she proceeds to kiss him, Dan. Sadie kisses Dan. And she does something with the pendant, and then everything turns blue for a moment. We get to see more of Dog Vision as Invisible Dog is making his way through. We see heads sliding into frame downstairs, toys going off, things are popping. And Sadie's going a little bit nuts, getting ready to cut herself. Then she gets a call, so she kind of gets sick afterwards. So she goes to this couple, and she goes to the couple being Dan and the other girl, Faye, afterwards. She sees another dead person in the camera, drops the camera, freaks out a bit more. So she ends up going to the restroom to, again, try to cut herself, but she gets interrupted again. We get more dog movement. She puts the pendant back on and hides it away. And Dan catches a glimpse. Say anything. So the other girl's whatever, I'm out, or whatever, I don't want to deal with this. We have more demon ladies to be seen. And, afterwards, Dan wants to bring Sadie to her mom. And as those two are talking, Dan and her mom, Sadie hears the dog barking, the invisible dog. And then we get some more dark hands and more figures and blah blah blah. Dan says how he wants to stay with her. So they proceed to go back to her place, or the father's place, or her, that place. So she bathes while he's looking up some notes and he's doing laptop stuff. Dog is moving about. We see the cover of one of the cameras goes off, and he's noticing her take the shower through the camera. And she's purposefully doing the whole yeah, I'm doing it. So she starts to freak out though, pulls up some head, and then freaks out. So the camera goes off, she screams, and he checks in. Of course, she still had the pendant with her, so she covers it. And she hears more noises, and then afterwards, she starts to talk about how during her childhood she used to have these breakouts, and she used to be mocked for being fat. Yes, that is the thing they go for, apparently. She goes over the past, and we see that as a kid, she witnessed her dad and some other guy, the guy they interviewed, Craig, killing a bunny in a very occult-like look to them. And after they talk about their past some more. They end up proceeding to kiss again. We see more dog movement, touching more black, dark hands, and more ghost. So, she finds a note and then gets called by her mom, who's like, oh, you should probably just leave or whatever. And she's like, nah, I'm good. So she's asking about more information about this demon, the flame demon, to this driver who's been driving her about. And as she proceeds to get to work, her boss yells at her about this is her last chance or whatever. So they both proceed to talk to Craig again, who says that he openly killed the father, and then he ends up seeing the amulet too and wants it. But we see from her perspective that everyone stops, and we get some more burn ghost screaming, and she places the pendant away. So, Faye encounters her after this little event. They're in a different location now. And she says, essentially, for Sadie to kill herself, like her dad, and that she should just leave. And after she does leave, she hears a baby noise. She sees the broken toy as she proceeds to follow the noise. Hears Doggo, freaks up, and then gets knocked off on the platform. So Dan bumps into Sadie some more. They kiss some more. And as they're getting into it, a gun is pointed to his head, and she is knocked out temporarily. We see a video of the father freaking out some more, and that's some of the research that Dan was doing. So Craig shows her this video, and again, looking into that cult stuff, and Sadie sees this, and we get the disturbing reveal from Craig that the two of them, that being Sadie and Dan, are actually siblings. They are brother and sister, but they're in love, so it's incest. So she sees the camera movement and tells him to move. They knock him out, or they do something to get out. They talk a little bit, and they do kiss after even finding out that they are brother and sister. So they're totally into it, I guess. So she takes a pendant and gives it to him. And she starts to hear her father's voice as the brother proceeded to head out to place the pendant back or whatever. The ghost is floating to her. It looks really bad. It's just sliding across the floor at one point, literally. The dog even appears some more. We see her bump into some sick mom boobs. The mom is sick and she has fat boobs. That's what I mean. Then we get some more ghost sneaking up, and she's like sneaking up further and further up the stairs, following her dad's voice. A gun is, she sees a gun pointed at himself, and she sees her dad shoot himself again, or this in the first time, I suppose. So she heads up even further. The brother hears more voices in the dog as well, from where he is. He's like in the like where she would be buried, I suppose. So she moves into this pentagram and hears more baby. She sees a sheet, and she like uncovers it to see this woman give birth to a toy baby. I think the lady was Faye, I think. Like a dead version of her, though. So she places the pendant, then is grabbed, and the dad warns her about her brother, like what's happening with him. So she's like trying to make herself scarce. She ends up like cutting herself, cutting her eyes out. And apparently that like ends the situation for the moment. So it cuts to the aftermath where she talks with her boss about the situation and how she survived and how she's blind now. And as she proceeds to head outside, the pendant is like flung into the driver. The driver gives her the pendant back, and then they drive off. And that was the demon eye. Effects are pretty bad, obviously. I think this was a more low-budget movie. The incest reveal was kind of like, no. Big no. Yeah. And it had some pretty generic, constant, sort of things of, like, the ghost and all that stuff. So it's not a particularly strong movie. I give it a 2 out of 10. I almost said 3. Oof. Anyways, that was my review of Demon Eye, and if you enjoyed it, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head you over to my Discord server, the other to my Patreon page. Any donations are greatly appreciated, and until next time, everyone, bye-bye.